I came home to an empty driveway, the kind of sight that makes your stomach drop before your brain catches up. A flimsy piece of paper, taped to my front door with enough adhesive to hold a brick, screamed "Violation Notice" in bold, sanctimonious font. My heart sank as I read it. But what hit harder was the absence of my 1970 Dodge Coronet Super B, my father's pride and joy, gone without a trace. No court order, no signature, no permission, just vanished in broad daylight. And the kicker? The woman behind it, Diane Kessler, the HOA tyrant who'd been side-eyeing me since I rolled into this quiet Colorado suburb, was the one pulling the strings. This wasn't some urban legend or a wild podcast tale. This was my life, and it felt like someone was keeping score. What would you have done if it was your car? Moving to this neighborhood was supposed to be my reset button. After a grueling 18-month divorce that left me hollow, I found a modest 2-story house with a decent driveway, perfect for parking my most treasured possession, Dad's Coronet. That car wasn't just metal and chrome. It was 6 months of weekends spent elbow-deep in grease with my father, rebuilding its Hemi engine, polishing its burnt orange paint until it gleamed like a sunset. The first time we fired it up, the roar was like thunder trapped in a bottle, and Dad, oil-stained and grinning, said, "James, this car will outlast us both. Don't let anyone take it from you." I parked it exactly as he taught me when I was 12, parallel and precise. But from day one, something felt off. The trouble started when Diane appeared, materializing like a storm cloud at the edge of my driveway. Mid-50s, blonde hair yanked back so tight it looked like it hurt. She wore a floral dress that screamed suburban dictator. She stared at the coronet like it had spat on her grandmother's grave. I tried to play nice, setting down a moving box and offering a smile. "Good morning," I called. She didn't blink, just kept glaring at the car. "Nice car," she finally said, her tone implying it was anything but. A bit big for this neighborhood. My hands went numb, like my body knew something my brain hadn't caught yet. Big? I glanced around. A hulking pickup truck sat 2 houses down, an RV hogged half a driveway across the street, and a work van plastered with logos squatted nearby. But my car was the problem? "I'm James Wilson," I said, extending a hand. She stared at it like I'd offered her a snake. "Diane Kessler, HOA board," she replied, her voice clipped. "We like things consistent here." That word consistent landed like a warning shot. Over the next few days, I noticed things. A guy in his mid-20s, lanky with a nervous energy, kept strolling by, slowing to snap photos of the Coronet. At first, I thought he was just a car guy, but the way he angled his phone methodical, like he was building a case, felt wrong. When our eyes met through my window, he flushed and scurried off. Then came the letter, taped to my door 3 days after I moved in, all official HOA letterhead and legalese. "Dear resident," it began, "concerns have been raised regarding parking violations unsuitable for our community." Violations? The Coronet wasn't blocking anything, wasn't leaking, wasn't even close to the property line. I walked the neighborhood that night, beer in hand, and counted: a boat trailer, a motorcycle leaking oil, a project car on blocks. None had pink slips taped to their owners' doors. Something wasn't right, and it had Diane's fingerprints all over it. I dug into Diane's history. 8 years on the HOA board, a reputation for targeting anyone who didn't fit her vision of suburban perfection. I was ready to dig in my heels, like Dad always said, let bullies show their true colors. But then work cayed an emergency deposition in Denver. I almost didn't go. A gut feeling screamed to stay. But I left, the Coronet glowing under the morning sun as I pulled away in a rental car. That was my mistake. When I returned Thursday evening, the driveway was empty except for a pink and white ribbon fluttering like a cruel joke. The violation notice on my door now read "Asset Liquidation," claiming my car had been towed and sold for repeated violations. Sold. My father's car, reduced to a line item. Rage hit me, sharp and cold, unlike anything I'd felt during the divorce or Dad's illness. My neighbor, Margaret, an elderly woman with kind eyes, caught me staring at the empty driveway. "I saw them tow it," she said softly. "Diane was there, clipboard in hand, tying that ribbon on your car like it was a prize." She hesitated, then whispered, "5 years ago, Diane's family wanted a car like yours for a classic car showroom. The owner refused to sell. She's held a grudge ever since." It clicked. This wasn't about parking. It was revenge, and I was the unlucky target. I called the HOA number straight to voicemail. My car was gone, and I was supposed to wait 48 hours for a callback. I didn't sleep that night, pacing to the window, hoping the driveway would somehow fill itself again. The next morning, I walked the neighborhood, photographing every violation I could find. The oversized RV, the oil-leaking motorcycle, the boat trailer. 8 clear infractions, untouched. At one house, an older man, George Lopez, approached as I snapped photos of a junked car in his yard. "You're the guy with the coronet, right?" he said. "What Diane did is a travesty. She picks favorites. Some get away with anything. Others get harassed for nothing." His words neighborhood character hit like a coded jab. I wasn't imagining it. Diane was targeting me for reasons beyond the car. I fired off an email to the HOA, demanding documentation of the seizure, auction minutes, and their selective enforcement policies. I cited state property law, requesting a formal hearing. I knew they'd stonewall, but I wanted a paper trail. The next day, Diane and another woman, all suburban menace, appeared on my sidewalk. "You're making this harder than it needs to be, Mr. Wilson," Diane said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Non-compliance has consequences." I held my ground. "Stealing my car isn't compliance, Diane. It's theft." Her companion snapped. "It was lawful." I smiled. "Then you won't mind me calling the police to verify." Their faces told me they hadn't expected resistance. 3 days later, a text from an unknown number. "Want the truth about your car? Meet at Safeway on Elm, 7 p.m. Come alone." Wary of a trap, I checked my doorbell cam first. There it was, Diane handing an envelope to the tow driver, directing the operation like a crime boss. At Safeway, the lanky photographer appeared. "Ethan, Diane's son." "I didn't want this," he blurted, climbing into my car. "Mom said you were a troublemaker, but I saw what she did. Your car's in a storage unit, not sold yet. Paperwork issues." He showed me a photo. The coronet, bow still tied on, in a rental garage. Diane visited daily, gloating over it, planning to sell it to fund a business venture. "She's obsessed," Ethan said. "It's about a deal that fell through years ago. She thinks your family owes her." I told Ethan, "This is felony theft. Civil Code 22658, illegal seizure." He nodded, torn. "She's all I have since Dad died. She's desperate, but it's wrong." He offered to help, knowing it'd cost him his mother's trust. We planned a risky move. He'd distract the storage facility guard while I snuck in to document evidence. Tuesday afternoon, I slipped through a rusty gate, heart pounding like I was back in a courtroom. Inside Unit 214, the coronet sat under a tarp, surrounded by Diane's war room file boxes, a whiteboard timeline, buyer profiles. She'd been stalking collectors, forging documents, planning a vintage car empire. Voices approached Diane and a man in a suit. I stepped outside, feigning arrival. "What are you doing here?" Diane spat. "Documenting theft." I shot back, holding up my camera. The man, claiming to be her lawyer, threatened trespassing charges. I pulled out my judicial ID. "I'm Judge James Wilson, Colorado State Court. Care to explain this to the police?" Diane's face crumbled. Her lawyer fled. Ethan arrived, panicked. "Mom, you weren't supposed to be here." Diane realized his betrayal, her rage turning to despair. I laid out the charges: forgery, theft, fraud. She tried to call the police, but I stopped her. "I want my car, a written apology, $45,000 in restitution, and a restraining order. Lie, retaliate, or bother me again, and I'll prosecute." She signed everything, defeated. The police arrived, and I drove the coronet home, its roar a reminder of Dad. Neighbors greeted me, vowing to reform the HOA. Diane moved away, her reign over. Ethan, remorseful, became a friend, working at a restoration shop. The restitution came with an apology, citing her desperation. Sitting on my porch, the coronet gleaming, I felt peace. Some cars carry more than metal, they carry history. Justice with humanity won. What's your story of fighting back?